Okay, so the EMO committee meeting for May 24th has begun. So we have Jason Ballas here tonight. He's going to talk about the 4 pillars of emergency management. It's yours.
Oh, that was quick.
Yeah, there's not a lot on the agenda, so we're getting right into it.
Okay, yeah, well, I get fired off, so I don't have a whole lot of time. Is that thing Wi-Fi? Bluetooth?
No, we can hook you up though.
Yeah, I just have a small thing.
How long that is?
It's actually pretty close.
It's fine. Let's get Can everybody see that all right?
And now. Perfect. Well, it's going to be the 5 components of emergency management. I kind of borrowed this from Ontario. There's sometimes it's 4, sometimes they don't put the prevention in. They just start with the mitigation portion of it. So basically, with the 5 components of emergency management, you have prevention, mitigation, preparedness, response, and recovery. All 5 of these things can be done step by step, or some of them can actually be done while you're into one of the other phases. Your prevention includes actions taken to stop an emergency or disaster from occurring. Such actions may include legislative control, zoning restrictions, improving operating standard procedures, or critical infrastructure. Basically, what prevention could be, out in this area, if you have a big softwood stand and it's close to a residential area, you could go in and thin cut it first, certain distance back from houses, so you don't have to worry about that. Legislation control, anything that the government puts an act in or anything like that. Standing in areas where it's flood prone, maybe actually move residents away or build dikes or whatever. This is just stuff so committees don't have to actually stand up, and you basically prevent, mitigate. It's the first step before mitigation, before you do something. Sorry, that's kind of small. Mitigation is just taking actions to reduce the adverse impacts of an emergency or disaster that can be reasonably prevented. Mitigation strategies can be undertaken by individuals or organizations. That's key there, because emergency management actually starts with the individual, then it moves to the community, then it will move to the province, then it will move to the federal. So everybody should do their own mitigation at home. Again, that comes to clearing trees away from your house. If you've got small things, even if there's catch spaces that are getting clogged up at the end of the driveway or whatever, clean them out so you don't have the flooding and backing out, because a flood may flood your house. It's not really emergency management for the community or your neighborhood, but it is for you, because then you're mitigating, having the chance for that water to come in. Mitigation strategies are based on risk assessments and may include short-term or long-term plans. This is where the communities themselves, they look at their hazard and risk assessments, look at what risks, what hazards are in the community, what risk it plays to the community members, and then how can they mitigate going forward to have these particular things. Again, you can't do anything, and this stuff is all man-made. Again, you can't predict or mitigate against basically acts of God, whether it be hurricanes, tornadoes, even fires that start just because of dry conditions. So.
No, but if you've got tall trees in close proximity to your house or buildings,
Yeah.
and if you cut them down ahead of time,
If you cut them down,
that mitigates
there is a program.
hurricane damage.
There is a program. It just went over my head there, but anyway, it's how you mitigate fire prevention, forest fire prevention around your house. cut back a perimeter about 30 to 40 meters. It starts at 1 meter at the house and it goes out 10 meters and then it goes out 30 meters. So if you can cut brush away, you can keep garbage out of your yard and stuff like that. If there is a wildland fire, it deletes a lot of the stuff that can burn to get to your house. There we go. Preparedness ensures that the ability to prevent, mitigate, respond to, and recover from an emergency. To be prepared includes appropriately addressing all the other components of the emergency. Preparedness is, well, there's 72-hour kit. In the Handle area, for us, preparedness, we have generators that can be used at Kingsler Station 2, or at Go Hole. There's this generator down Station 1, there's a generator here. It's also working with neighboring communities. So if something happens that Handle can't handle it, instead of calling on the province for NBEMO, we could go to Handle, we could go to Fredericton. If Handle had their own public works department, well, we get a big snowstorm and we'll say they have 5 trucks and we need 10. Well, we can go to a neighboring community and ask for help there. If there's a mass power outage, we can rely on organizations such as the Red Cross and stuff like that to come in. So emergency management, again, is do as much as you can within your community once you're overwhelmed there. And any mutual aid agreements you have with other communities, that's when they make the phone call to EMO, explain what's going on, and then we can pull from resources from NBEMO. And then on a provincially being prepared, once EMO extends all their resources, all their mutual aid agreements, then they can go to the feds and ask for assistance there. Response. Response refers to the measures taken immediately before, during, or immediately after the emergency response for the purpose of managing the consequences. This may require the implementation or activation of appropriate response plan or plans, as well as provisions and prepositioning of resources such as personnel, services, or equipment. The establishment of staffing of a response structure, the activation of information collecting, sharing protocols, and the development of incident-specific action plans to address the emergency. And Handle has an all-hazard plan. So that's when if something happened here, we pull out the plan and use that. The majority of communities they'll have all-hazard plans because it basically checks off all the boxes. If you're in an area that's prone to tornadoes, well, a lot of communities, if they have tornadoes over and over and over again, they have their all-hazard plan, and plus they have their tornado plan. Communities along the water, St. John River, they have their all-hazard plan, they have their flood plan. If you really wanted to get Handle, because we cover a lot of the Trans-Canada, we could have a plan for a hazardous materials or something that may, because there's so much traffic and hazardous materials and there's nuclear products going by here, gas and everything, so we could have a response plan if there were to be a big accident. Then you could go down into the industrial park where Taylor Petroleum is. You could have an actual response plan just for their bulk plan. So if something happens, there's an incident there, the fire department arrives, the chief pulls out that plan, calls Terry, Sherry, or whoever it is and says this is what we have. And if they need, we can pull in additional resources for that. Within your response, you may be responding to a particular incident, have the EOC set up, but you could have a secondary emergency. So then, you could have a fire, a big urban fire in one area, so you can be doing preparation or planning in case it moves to another one. So you're actually working that situation, evacuating those people, but you're also working in other communities as well. And this is where you bring other stakeholders in and parties to help. And then, oh crap. Anyway, there we go. Your recovery refers to the process of restoring an affected community to a pre-disaster or higher level of function. This may include the provision of financial assistance, rehabilitation of critical infrastructure and habitats, return of evacuees, restoration of the environment, or critical incident stress counseling. That's a big thing for, especially for your first responders. Before, you want to look before recovery efforts even start. Do you have the resources to help the first responders and the community members in place? Because if it's long-term evacuation, there could and most likely will be long-term effects, mental health from that. So that's where you would reach out to other government partners to bring in counselors and whatnot to have there. Recovery components also involve risk reduction components that encourage all levels, including community residents, to build back better. Part of the recovery process is doing your AR, your after action report. You do a report from when the incident started until the end. Then you go back and you look at it and say, okay, what can we do? This is what happened. How can we mitigate or prevent this from happening again? So it's a big cycle. So you could be in the response section, but already thinking about, you're already in the response, you're already thinking of your recovery.
Right.
So, and when you're doing your preparedness, you're already thinking about how to recover from the specific things. I couldn't get into doing a 2 or 3 hour presentation, but I figured just hit the bullet points and remind people of what we actually have to do. So in your prevention mitigation, that's when you really want to do a lot of your the training portion of it for your committees, your stakeholders such as law enforcement, fire, EMS, DNR. The prevention section, prevention and preparedness, that's where tabletop exercises come in a lot. Talk through it, particular things, and that way you get ideas going forward of what happened. And then every few years there should be a full-scale actual exercise where the Emo committee is called in and they work in consultation with first responders in doing a real live event. It takes a while to plan those, but it's not something you do every day, especially in this community, because a lot of the times we as the fire department, we handle everything, and I don't think we ever really come here except for asking for money.
So you were talking about the big scale one. I know we haven't had one since pre-COVID.
Yeah.
You work for Emo, right?
Not anymore.
Not anymore. Had you heard if they were going to be doing anything? Like, were
When
they planning one?
When I left, they were talking about maybe this fall doing another
one.
Dan would know more about that.
Right.
And if they are planning it, depending on what they're planning, I presume Dan would notify you.
Oh, he will.
What's that, tabletop exercise?
No, they're actually the big provincial one, where they actually do a live.
It's like an all day. It's pretty much an all day event.
Yeah.
Like we're here at, I think they start like at 9 or 10 and you don't leave until like 7 or 8. And
Yeah.
you're here all day and we go through that. It's an actual pretend exercise. You order in food like you do everything that you would normally.
Are all agencies involved in that? City of Fredericton or Bucko?
All the communities in the province are involved.
Yeah.
Now,
So who plays the roles? Who?
EMO writes the exercise. EMO runs the whole exercise. So depending on which part of the province the actual exercise is in, will be more involved. But they do, as far as I understand, because I haven't partaken in one, but from what I understand, all EOCs in the province activate. So that way, if they need fire resources or public works or something like that, they could call Handwell EMO and say, we need a pumper and a tanker and 5 individuals for fire suppression. And it would come through here, we would contact the chief and tell him exactly what we need. 2 trucks, 5 people to go to this area.
So there's multiple EOCs.
Everyone in the province is operating at the same time.
You're
All
cooperating with each other?
Including the provincial one. Because how it works is, if we were to have something here, let's say, there was a big incident in Handwell, and it was overwhelming our community. depending on whether it be police, fire, EMS, whoever, they would call here to Sherry and say, this is what we need, and Sherry would make the decision. I'm gonna open up our EOC. So she would put the call out, everybody would come here. At the same time, she'd be getting a hold of Dan DeClavo and the Emo and saying, we're standing up our EOC. Most likely Dan he'd be in close conversation, be it email or telephone, and he may actually go to his office and put his regional operations center on a level 1 or level 2. That way, if we need anything here, we can call Dan. Now, if it gets bigger than that, Dan can do a full call-in for his REOC, is what they call it, Regional Emergency Operations Center, and call his provincial partners in.
Yeah.
So that way, if we need Department of Transportation, Department of Education, or anything like that, we just make a phone call to Dan and say we need this, this, and that, and he's tasked to look out into his group of people and say, DOT, we need DTI, we need this, Amos, New Brunswick, we need that, because the major players are sitting there. There's members of DTI, social services, health, Red Cross, the bigger government departments. And like it was with COVID, the spring freshman back in 18 and 19, they opened the provincial one up. So every government department had a representative downtown at the Emergency Operations Center there, including federal partners as well. So anytime anybody in the province needed something, they didn't make a call to that particular department. They would call the operations center, and somebody in the operations center would go out and say, we need X number of chairs to go there. So who has a whole bunch of chairs? So you go to the chair people and they would send the chair people out. So it's coordinated. Not everybody's talking to everybody. Only the heads of each portion are talking to each other.
I think MRDC's on that committee too, for the highway,
This one, yes.
the big one.
Yeah, I can't remember I think they fall under DTI.
They might, but I know they were involved in the,
They're usually brought in.
physically there.
Yeah, it depends on what it is. There's so many seats in there. I can't remember all the players, but I think sometimes DTI is the connection for MRDC. So if something's needed, the person with DTI makes the call to MRDC, because sometimes even companies like the pipeline that was leaking here in St. John a few years ago, well, at that given time, there's 4 EOCs opened up in the city of St. John. Irving had theirs, Northeast Pipeline had theirs, City of St. John had theirs, and NBEMO Region 10 had their EOCs. They were all running together. So you had 4 separate emergency operations centers going. And you'll get that in like smaller communities as well.
So you would have done it with me, right?
Yep.
The big one. So I think was it a storm?
I can't remember what it was, but there were multiple incidents around the province. There was an incident over in the Acadian Peninsula. There was something in the Moncton area.
I think it was an ice storm or something.
Could have been an ice storm. That's something up the river valley. Like there were multiple incidents, all the same type, but multiple incidents around. Nothing in our immediate area, but we were kind of responding as if we had the same incident, whether it was an ice storm, flood, whatever it was here. And like Sherry said, we were here all day and into the...
Because we would be managing our resources, looking after our local people.
Right.
Plus anything additional
Right.
Yeah.
would get sent to,
Yeah.
Yeah.
you know, upriver this winter. Like one of the power outages, we didn't have any big issues here because they were short term, but the fire department said, it was Christmas Eve, fire department set heaters up to the bath area.
Right.
Because they were prolonged, so things like that, it's mutual aid. The tire fire in Minto.
Right.
They had an incident command set up there, but they were calling in and they basically stripped a lot of areas of fire service. And I don't think at the time they were thinking there wasn't a whole lot of backfilling. So people didn't really realize you send everything to one area,
Yeah.
but there's no backfilling.
Right.
So.
Yeah.
Yeah, you just start everything small, and it works way big, but you just have to make sure your own interests are protected as well.
Right.
So if we, with Upper Kingsclear, there's times that we've responded to fires and then had to call Ormocto or somebody, or New Maryland, just to come in and at least bring a truck in
Right.
to cover, and we do vice versa.
Yeah.
So that's where your mutual aid agreements would come in like that.
Right.
And where we don't have a police force, if there was something big, then some representative from the RCMP, we could bring them in here.
Right.
Because I know at the one we had, the big one we had, Chief Kraus was actually here. He
Yes.
sat at a desk and he played his role, and
Yep.
it was, he was contact, yeah, it was,
So you don't go to a center somewhere, you are here?
we are here.
We're here.
The EOC is called here.
This is your second, you never wanna have your EOC in the hot or the warm zone.
Yeah.
So if something happened, the incident was here,
Yeah,
we would actually have to move this EOC somewhere else.
right.
First things first, we gotta make sure we have power, water, food, pens and pencils.
I'm just trying to understand what this all looks like. So you're having this provincial tabletop, or whatever you want to call
Yep.
it, but you're sitting here.
We're here, so-
And you're cooperating with these other agencies around.
And you're doing
the other
everything
province.
via,
Yeah.
actually, it could be done through trunk radios.
I get you, okay, no, I get a better understanding.
Yeah, it's cool, and everything was done. They actually had, they were doing weather reports, it was a big production, they had it all planned, like you were actually, felt like you were actually in
Yeah.
the storm, like you were getting, and we were talking back and forth with Dan DeCleva constantly, we were back and forth with him, and everybody was involved, like it was that one day when everybody was actually,
Yeah.
like, playing through an event.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And depending on what they have for the scenario, in whichever community, if it was whether it be a natural disaster or man-made, if they're in those areas, they actually have physical resources on the ground going through the scenario, and they bring actors in to play victims, whether it be a plane crash or a bus accident or something. So right there on scene, they're actually physically doing what they need to do, and then it's calling back through to get resources.
So they've done that at the airport.
The airport has to
Fake
do,
crashes.
yeah, they have to do that for their Transport Canada licensing every, I think they have to do a small one yearly, and then every 2 to 4 years, they have to do a larger scale.
Yeah.
And when they do that, there's representatives from Transport Canada there, the province, the local municipalities, and a lot of stuff, so. It'd be the same as when even with the fire department, we do training scenarios, and we have other departments come in. Police forces, though, with their emergency response teams, they do like their ERT teams, they'll do active shooter training and stuff like that. It's just training, but it's on a bigger scale, and you have more cogs in the wheel, so you can find out where you have more deficiencies to fix them before you actually get into.
So you mentioned that if this was an emergency here.
Yeah.
So there's a fire in the woods and we can't come here, right?
Yeah.
Where do we go?
That would be her decision.
Where do we go?
If Station 1's available, or Station 2's available, Station 2, we find a place.
No. I wanna know where we gotta go.
Because we don't know what the incident is at that time. That's a decision
Okay,
We have
so-
Nate- is it
so
NATAC?
according to our prevention up there,
Yeah,
But
we should know that
we are,
there's
if we
three
can't
spots
come,
that we.
if we
find
can't
that-
come here, we're either going to go to Station, Upper Kingsclear Station 1 on the Mastersound Road, Upper Kingsclear Station 2 on the Hamel Road, or Upper Kingsclear Station 3 down in Island View. Because all three of those, besides this one, they all have backup power and backup communications. So in the rural community of Hanwell, we have 4 spots we can use, this being the primary.
So that's in the plan.
I don't know if
That's
it's
not in the plan, we have to work on the plan.
Okay.
We need a plan.
So there is
We have
another,
a plan, but us and every other municipality in this province needs to work on their plan.
I don't think we have a plan, to be honest. I mean, there's something online that was very, very old, outdated. I haven't seen a plan since I've been on the committee that I would call a plan.
Did you guys got a plan?
I haven't seen a plan.
No.
Emergency
Never
management
got a
plan, I have not seen it.
I don't think so.
I mean, there's one, if you go on the website for Hanwell, you can find one very dated, very old. Doesn't even reflect the new amalgamation.
Well, it wouldn't have reflected new amalgamation because it's only been January, we've only
No,
met
but-
once or
but-
twice, right? So
but-
that's
but
gonna have to be a
having
work
said-
in progress, for
Having
sure.
said that, it was very old, even beyond that issue.
You've got a plan that's more up to date than that.
The one I have here was last
Well,
looked
there's,
at in
there's
20.
one in existence here because I worked on it or contributed. to it.
There is one.
When, can we see?
And I thought,
Look at it.
I thought
I'm
all the
surprised you guys didn't
members
have that.
got
You've never
copies
got
of
copies
it.
of it.
Yeah,
At the
because
very
I've got a
beginning.
binder, I didn't bring it with me, but I've got a binder
Is
home.
that where it lists all the roles and responsibilities and all that
Yes,
stuff?
that would be
Okay,
part
we
of
got
it.
all the roles and responsibilities of so-and-so and so-and-so, and
That would be part of it.
think
Well,
we,
We were told it was under construction or revision, and
It's,
there's no sense looking at the old one, there is, and wait for the new one.
it's not the, you're not talking about the orientation.
No, there should have been, you should have been given emergency.
emergency measures orientation
I
binder.
mean, it came to light when we did the little tabletop, I don't want to get off track here, Jason, because we gotta
The
respect.
drafted date was May 10th, 2015. The under revision was July 6th, 2018, and then it was revisited in 2022.
Is that online?
No, that's what I have here. It was sent from me.
Okay. So I will send it to you. I assumed you guys had that, because it would have been something you would have been given. when-
Because it does have, really has,
When you
because
join.
Chris Melvin is the mayor on
Oh, it does have to be updated, for sure, but I thought we had updated all
Yeah,
that.
that's the one I saw online, is the one that's like Chris Melvin is the mayor, which, that's long ago, right?
Role,
2018.
responsibilities and
No, it's been
checklists.
I worked on an update since then, for sure.
Really? Okay, it should be online.
Warming center
The
process
Hanover Road
during
Committee will
emergency.
recognize its responsibilities to plan for peacetime emergencies that may endanger lives, property, and environment, either in its municipality or others. The aforementioned municipality has concluded mutual aid agreements with Upper Kingston Fire Department, Village of New Maryland, and Harvey Fire Department. That's general, and that goes through. That was what I was sent to the last year when I joined.
Okay, I will,
I don't think,
that's something we have to work on.
Yeah. That-
But the thing is, we do have a roadmap. That plan might not be 100% up to date right now, but if something were to happen, we can pull this one out and pull the information from it and use it. As it stands right now, under Emergency Measures Act, there is no law mandating any municipality to use any said template or to have a plan. Some municipalities in this province are, basically shit happens, call 911.
Right.
That's it.
Call 911.
They pass it off to local fire,
Yeah.
police, and stuff like that. They honestly don't do anything because they don't have committees. There's one community very close to here that their committee was one person.
I think I know which one it is.
And she was a part-time employee of that village before the amalgamation.
Okay, not the one I'm thinking of.
So, and even some of the big, like, these plans, you know, some municipalities put hundreds of thousands of dollars into them.
Yeah, big cities.
Cities, smaller communities, there are companies out there that write them, but it's a matter of sitting down. A plan is really a big little black book of phone numbers.
It's what it is, that's what ours is,
It's who to call when something happens.
and that's what, you know, Carla was updating that.
Yes.
But she's been updating that for a year.
But the thing is, we're emergency operations center really isn't the correct word. We're more of an emergency communications or coordination center because we don't physically run operations out of here per se. We coordinate with the responders on the ground and get them what they need. We don't have an incident commander that stands in here and gets reports back and says, do this, do that, do that. We have a coordinator in here that gets reports from the field on what's going on, what resources are needed. Then they call out to get said resources, whether it be food, replace fuel for vehicles, anything like that. We coordinate in here, is what we do.
So what I will do is I will send this to you tomorrow.
Well, if it's the same one that's online, I've seen it. It just, but
And,
if it's updated, I'd love to see it, yeah.
okay, so to be honest, this is not, kind of didn't fall under me.
No.
That's kind of being thrown at me at the moment. So I will see what we've got. I will give you whatever copy we have, and if you want to go on and make any kind of changes or updates, if you want to research it, like, and help us out that way, because it's not something that I can put on myself right now to do all. I can't update it right now. So I'll contact Carla.
Suggesting that, I just,
But we've got a more recent version than when Chris Melvin was mayor.
I know we do. I know we
well,
have
that's
to.
what we need to see.
We have to have a more recent
I
version.
don't have it either.
I don't need.
And the thing, remember, the only updated part is really gonna be,
Who people
it's
are
gonna
in
be the
contact.
front, it's gonna be the front people, like your mayor and council,
Yeah.
and your updated contacts. The rest of the stuff isn't really gonna change all that much, other than updating the new municipality,
Right.
including the new areas, which we haven't updated because it just started January 2023.
So it's on the handbook?
See this one here, how long's, like Terry here is the, yeah, some of the counselors need to be updated, but.
So
you know,
for updates,
Emergency Operations Center Director is Terry Parker, clerk.
the bones of it aren't really gonna change all that much,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because the bones are gonna stay the same, like what we would do in an ice storm, what we would do in a
Okay,
forest fire.
so maybe we do have it, like we've
Like
got.
all that stuff, you would still, it's not gonna change that much. What is going to change is going
Is
to
it
be,
the get prepared, hazards and emergency power outages and all these?
no, that's not it, no. What's gonna change would be, definitely the front would be talking about who, like the chairs and stuff like that, who's on council.
But even, I don't know if I would, in the plan,
Even put that,
I
because
don't
it
know
changes
if
so
I would even
frequently.
put it, it changes. All you need to know is you can
Titles.
contact the mayor, the
Yeah.
titles,
Yeah.
exactly.
That probably is, that's. a
Well, that's
good
what
question,
most-
really.
Because it
Businesses
changes,
do.
right?
We don't use names,
Right.
we use titles.
Right.
And same thing like police, I mean, we could put police sergeant's name currently, but it's going to change.
And they may not always tell the municipality who's
Yeah.
switching through.
Right.
As- the biggest thing is, for that, is Terry or Sherry has a couple of numbers, and that would be NBEMO,
Yeah.
Dan's contact.
Yeah.
Because we as a community do not own any assets other than the fire service. We can't provide loaders, dump trucks, backhoes, clean water filtration systems or anything like that, because we physically, we own what, a half ton and a side by side, maybe a couple lawnmowers.
Right.
So we don't have physical assets
Right.
ourselves to do anything, other than fire apparatus.
Where do we even find it on the website?
Oh, I had to drill around there a little bit,
Yeah.
but I did find it.
Okay, just leave it with me.
Oh, okay,
I will find the copy on my computer. I will make the few changes by taking out the names of the people that are no longer here, and I will send it all to you,
appreciate it.
and you'll
Yeah,
have it.
yeah.
And then I will see if it can be, I'm sure it can be from the website. And the thing about the contacts too, that's something that's gonna be constantly updated. It has to continuously be done. It's not something that we just do it this year and we
I think Terry
stop.
had mentioned that she had given that document to Dan, and he was gonna look at the numbers.
Dan was gonna look at it
Yeah,
and make suggestions. Dan was not gonna revise it. That's not Dan's job.
oh, okay.
So I will ask Dan about that.
I asked Dan about it.
Did he look at it, do you know?
I don't know if he's looked at it.
I'll at least ask him that.
But that was mentioned to me that Dan was gonna revise it, and that's not Dan's job, to do our
Yeah,
work.
Okay.
There are some RENCs out there that will take a municipal plan and rewrite it for them, but then there's the liability section on that. Because when I was with NBMO, I was a training coordinator, so we'll just say, for example, I took Animal's plan and I rewrote it, blah, blah, blah. Something happened and there was loss of life, property, or injury. They come back and say, well, what did you do? Well, I did the plan. Who did your plan? He did your plan. Well, that went wrong. So where's the liability come back to? It doesn't come back to the municipality, it comes back to me.
Yeah.
So this way, the municipality does it, they're covered legally. Dan's job is to coordinate, like, Dan will write his regional plan for REMC 11, which will include Kings Clear and all the areas he covers, clear over to Dopetown, Chipman, and all down that way. He does his all hazard plan for that, so if something happens, he knows who to call in those areas. That's what we do. Because basically, you know, shit happens, call Dan. That's what they don't want, but they want us to be able, if we need excavators, who are we gonna call in this area? Well, there's a few excavating companies, so we can actually make those calls to come in and bring excavators and heavy equipment and stuff in like that. If we need housing, instead of us calling around all the hotels, we call Red Cross. They already have a Rolodex there, they have room breaks, they have everything already set up, so if we need to house 40 families because of fire, we call the Red Cross and they've already have that ready, and if it's not in Fredericton, they have it elsewhere. If, say in the winter, we need to put a warming station in, evacuate for a warming station for multiple days, we really don't have in our area a place that can handle that. Well, Fredericton does. So
No, we do, we got a hotel,
we've got one hotel.
yeah.
So what if we have 500 people that we have to keep warm, feed, and try to sleep?
Okay, but have we, even if we had 50 people, have we approached that hotel to be a location for us?
Red Cross has. Red Cross makes one phone call, and we have people in there because we've done it before. Here a few years ago, we had a little mini tornado went through the Hanwell Park. Well, it displaced people.
Yeah.
Hanwell, we were on scene. Jason Cooling was in the Emo at the time. He made the phone call to the Red Cross there, and they had, I think, 10 or 15 rooms, because that's all the dwellings we had were displaced at the time. If needed be, those mobile homes that were off their foundation, there were rooms at that hotel for the residents to go. And that would have been covered under Red Cross with their disaster funds.
Okay, so,
Because remember, if you call and make a hotel, and
We have to pay for it.
she has to write the check.
That's why we don't call.
okay, so you bring up that trailer park.
Yeah.
And the story I heard was during that flood or that thing, that trailer park is part Fredericton, part Hanwell.
We were responding to our area, but at that point in time, Fredericton Fire was extremely busy in town. We were doing mutual aid for Fredericton at the time.
Okay, so has the council approached the government to either give all that to Fredericton or take all that park to Hanwell? Because in reality and in preparation, under prevention, we should be saying there's a big issue in that park.
What's the issue?
If one of those trailers get on fire, the next one's going to be on fire, the next one's going to be on fire, and they're not going to know whether to call the fire department or the Fredericton Fire Department, or the Fredericton Police, or
I
the RCMP.
just responded to a call in Hanwell, and I drove through Fredericton's area to go to one of our residents.
Yeah.
Literally before I walked in here.
But isn't it, it's
And we
confusing.
also
Is it confusing?
we also have a mutual aid agreement with the city of Fredericton for
But-
firefighting apparatus, that if we need assistance in the Upper Kingsclear area, we can make a phone call to Fredericton, we ask them for manpower or trucks, they send it, and vice versa.
But the logic, and I'm just speaking from non-political logic here, says the dividing line should be Route 2. Everything on that side of Route 2, give it to Fredericton. Everything on this side is Hanwell, for that particular area on Hanwell Road. But why should that area be divided up? So they did a whole new, changed all kinds of communities and boundaries, that part didn't get touched.
Probably
And,
gonna
and
have,
it's not a tax issue. You know, there's a physical boundary that's now there, Route 2, because it's been there for 21 years now.
Yeah.
You know, and before it used to be a brook. Well, come on, guys, you know, can't we recognize that there's a better boundary?
alls I know is every one of those dwellings in that area, if you go in and call 911 on a landline, you will get a Fredericton Police, Fredericton Fire response, or an Upper Kingsclear RCMP response.
Or.
Well, it depends on what house you're in.
Exactly,
Literally,
that's what I'm
it's-
saying.
But what makes the difference? They're all being covered.
They all
all
It's all
have
being
residuals.
covered by two different groups.
No, they're not. You just call 911. If you're a resident, you just call
No,
911.
911
and the
doesn't
911
always know that that's a.
Yes, they do.
Fredericton one. They
That
say they
land-
do. but
That
there's no
landline,
confusion.
if you're calling from a pin, a landline phone, that's physically in that dwelling, it has a physical civic address, that address is
All
either
right, so
the rural
you guys have
handbook
done a good job of accommodating an issue.
But
The issue being there's a split subdivision.
NB 911 has done that, the provincial
Yeah,
government.
but you guys have done it too, because you talked to Fredericton and said, hey, you know, particularly during that place when they were busy, and you said, we'll cover your area.
But that's how we work.
I know it is, but wouldn't it make sense to say, we don't have that problem anymore?
But we don't have a problem.
Okay.
I don't understand where the problem is.
The problem is that it's a community that's split between Fredericton and Hanwell.
Have you ever
And it's
gone?
always going to be causing issues.
I mean, it's always been like that. It's always been that split.
I know, but
There's
why?
communities on the border.
I'm not sure why.
That half of them are in Canada and half are in the United States.
I know, I've been through them.
I'm not sure why they chose the border that way, and I'm not sure why when they did the
Because
municipal
I think
reform, they didn't
originally
fix it.
when it was built on the outskirts. Then it expanded.
Right.
The border never moved,
Right,
because you go to Kingswood.
right, Kingswood.
We do not cover Sam Sneed's.
Right.
That's Fredericton. We cover the hotel and the fitness center. And we cover the back
I
nine.
rest my case.
But those boundaries exist all over the province.
Everywhere.
Everywhere where you transition from, say, the city of Fredericton to Hanwell, it's not only that trailer park, there's boundaries between municipalities.
You go
and rural
down- you
communities
go
all
down
over
the
the
same-
province.
They're natural boundaries.
You go down to St.
Not
John.
necessarily.
There's a road, and I can't remember the name of the road, but you go down the road. You start down the road, it's in St. John's area. You cross a set of tracks. Tracks are federal. So you have the federal government looks after the railway tracks. You go on the other side of the railway tracks, the town of Hampton. So you could have an accident there, and it's going through 2 provincials and 1 federal jurisdiction.
Right.
Going into Point LaPro, you literally drive down the road to Point LaPro. This side of the road is 1 provincial jurisdiction, that side is another, and then you have Point LaPro.
You have that in Carriage Hill.
Carriage Hill, you go up to the top of Carriage Hill, you make a turn. The only way you're going to get away from that at all is to go regionalization and just say, you're all together. You're all together.
No.
Put all your boundaries in
You're
the
all
woods.
together if it's a natural or a predetermined boundary. Here you've got a nice boundary, you've got Route 2. All right, there's a beautiful boundary there to say, hey, that's Fredericton, and this is Hamel. You know, not Stamps needs Fredericton and somebody else, you know, the hotel is somebody else. And I don't mean just for fire, I mean for the whole communication of issues that go on.
But
You
there
know,
is-
sure, the phone companies all have problems.
No, because
You
they're
know.
physical addresses, because they can pinpoint.
Yeah, I know the physical addresses, but it's
And they
just,
have civic numbers.
anyway, look,
It's all done off the civic numbering system through the Justice Department, which comes through ND 911 and Geomatics. And when you call to build a new house, you have to actually call them and say, this is physically where my house is. They will give you your number. So whatever street you live on, whatever civic number you live on, that goes into the computer. So once that goes into the system, it automatically knows what government agency or first responder agency literally goes to. The only time it gets into a little bit of problems is when you call from a cell phone. They can now narrow it down within to about 3 meters.
yeah, it's interesting how the police department would handle that, eh? They're driving up the street, and Fredericton's driving up, and Sam Sneed's right there, and they said, we're responsible for that. Somebody's robbing a hotel, and they gotta call, oh, RCMP, that's their responsibility.
Well, no, that's where if they had mutual aid agreements, we don't have anybody
If
close
they
up.
did, you know.
And I don't know what the police do.
Well, it just seems to me it's a very, when I heard about it at this meeting, you know, the issues that caused on that particular storm.
I was there the whole time, I didn't see any big issues. We had things pretty
Well,
much.
I think you guys handled it very well. I'm just saying, it can all be cured by stroke of the pen.
But the thing
And this
is,
is preparation.
but wouldn't you want to take your effort that you're worrying about something that's really a non-problem and use that into an area that is an actual problem, and fix something that is a problem? Macintosh Brook down by your place, one side of Macintosh Brook is Is Fredericton coverage? The other side is Upper Kingsclear. What happens if somebody has an accident right on McIntosh Brook? Who do you call?
Well, no, you're missing the issue, there's no, you're missing the whole issue.
Because I used to live down there, and my next door neighbor was actually in the, which would now be Hanwell. So I could holler to my neighbor, and we lived eye distance apart, but now it's two different communities.
You were separated by a brook.
Yeah, well, that brook is the boundary.
Yeah, that's the boundary, because it was set up that way at the beginning.
So if I needed EMS, they're going to come there. If I need fire, Fredericton was going to come to me, but if my neighbor needed fire, Upper Kingsclear is going to be responding.
Okay. All right, it's just, I'm not convinced that there should be a new boundary there.
Well, to get a new boundary there, that's a lot of years and a lot of laws that have to be changed.
No, it's the council has to make a request.
But again, why are you putting effort into a lot of that's
So I'm not putting any effort into it, I'm just saying the council should look at that and say, do we want to give up that piece of our land?
I can tell you why they wouldn't. There's a good tax base there, right?
Oh, it's not a good tax base there.
Anyway,
I don't know the reasons why, and I possibly, maybe they already looked into that, I'm not sure.
I'm sure it was looked into when the last amalgamation was coming in. And there was also a lot of places that did and didn't. Like, down in your area, you were gonna be in Fredericton.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not sure the reasoning,
No,
but we're
but
not
you're
gonna
now
solve
not
it today.
No, they had a petition, and
Yeah.
they said we should.
Yeah, yeah,
Anyway, I gotta go down, fire hall, more training. Have a good night, Chip.
perfect,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thanks, Jason.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I'll get that emergency plan sent out,
Yeah,
so you can at least look at it.
yeah,
But like I said, majority of it's not going to change, because a lot of it is just,
okay.
Title,
but, you know,
people's
that's
names.
fair enough.
If you need a hand with any of that stuff, just give me a
I
shout.
will, yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Thanks.
See ya.
Yeah, a lot of it, like most of it, the meats and bones of the actual plan is what we would do. Like, in any of those incidents, we would follow those rules. Like, that would be what we would do. The numbers, they're updated. I have to find out what they are, I'll get that from Carla. But again, like I said,
Yeah, you're busy, we don't wanna put any more work on that.
I'm just happy,
You're doing a
I'll
great
just be
job,
happy
sir.
with the old one, know where to find it. I'll be
for
able
me to do that, it'll take no time. You'll have it, you'll have a little bit of peace of mind, because you can actually look at it. I'll try to find this updated one that Mike and I'm sure that exists.
But don't make it a priority.
And then I'll get it up online and I'll post it up. Because I don't think it's something that, is it something has to be signed? It's,
I don't know.
like, I don't,
I think as a legal document, I'm not sure if we had to present that to
the council.
council or not. I would,
And I don't know that you do, because it's you're updating it and there's, it would change constantly,
well, some
right?
stuff would change, but if it's mentioned that Chris Melvin was the mayor, we need to go back and take that sort of reference out
Oh,
and reference the mayor's
I agree.
office.
There should be no names at all.
So there should, yeah,
Just
exactly.
titles.
Yeah,
It's just titles, so,
no names at all.
Yeah, that's basic rule
That
of
could be
policy,
cleaned
you
up.
Yeah.
don't
And then
put names in,
no,
because
because
they
they
change.
change too often.
Yeah.
Phone numbers
exactly.
in there that could be updated and should be good.
And this, we have to remember, this is a living document, it has to be living, right? We have to
Yeah.
constantly be changing it and updating it and
Yeah.
taking
Yeah.
people's names off and adding
But
people
but
on.
the
and-
fact that we have a document,
Is,
even the stuff that might be out of date, it'll at least steer you in a direction. When you see Chris Melvin, you know, okay, I gotta get a hold of the current mayor.
right.
Or if you see something else, well, you know, okay, Sherry might not be the person that we contact there, but we know,
right.
that we-
Whoever's doing what Sherry's job
Right.
is the, yeah.
yeah. So we're not in that bad a shape, I don't
No.
think. But some of the stuff in there, I know I did some of the updates for the businesses in the industrial park. And I know by the time I handed my stuff in to Terry,
Have to redo
it
it.
changed a
Oh,
couple
yeah,
of them.
that-
I mean,
that
it's
would
just,
be-
it's just constant. So I mean, you do your best, but I mean, unless you're gonna have someone on that full time,
Business is closed, business is
Right.
open, yeah,
Right.
numbers, contacts.
Is the, those forms that we got called responsibilities and checklists,
Yeah,
is that in part of the plan?
those are not in the plan. No, those are for the EOC committee only.
Okay.
That wouldn't be on the plan. So the plan is just basically, like, if we have a fire, this is the steps we should do. If we have a tornado, this is what we should do. If we have a flood, this is what we should do. And really we have to think of things that could happen potentially in Kingsclear that might not happen here.
Yeah.
I don't know that flooding is an issue because you're all above the dam,
There's
so
no flooding.
that's never an issue. So we got to think like, would there be anything different that would happen in that area that wouldn't happen here? And I don't think so.
No, it's the same.
Forest fires,
Yeah, it's
storms.
Storms and fires.
Yeah.
car accidents, like,
Yeah.
because I don't think the 102 is used much for heavy traffic
Not
anymore, but
Not supposed to be.
like
Yeah.
trucking, I'm talking about trucking,
Oh,
like
no,
big trucks,
it's
like
just-
big explosive trucks,
Just
like that kind of
gravel
thing.
trucks and stuff.
Yeah, so stuff that, anything like that, like anything hazardous waste, I don't think a lot of that gets trucked on the 102,
Not anymore.
not anymore, right?
You know, Yoho used to be an ammunition place, eh?
I did not know
And
that.
explosives
I did not know that.
down beyond that. And it was where they stored it because they would drive it from Montreal, wherever it was. And this was after so many hours, they would had to stay somewhere.
Oh, I
So
didn't
it
know
was
that.
down near Yoho, and then they made complaints about it and said that's too close to the thing. So I think it's down in Route 10 now,
Oh, and, towards Minto.
yeah.
Oh, okay.
I think there's some good storage places here.
So we will get this sorted out. I'll give you a little void alert update. So myself and Megan did a 2.5 hour course on it yesterday.
They're experts.
Oh, it's so easy. It is a breeze. It is a breeze.
What plan did we go with? I watched the video.
So it's void alert. We're going to be doing. It's going to be any kind of announcement.
Okay.
So
good.
basically, people are going to sign up for it, and you get to choose what kind of announcements you want. So if you want to hear school closures, you're going to click that button. If you want to hear about only emergency stuff, you'll make sure you only click that button. It's going to be a program where what you hear about is going to cater to you specifically.
Yeah, good.
Oh, it's crazy.
Example, I don't need to know school closures.
There's no minimum characters. You can write a book.
Oh, I know. I
You
was
can-
impressed. Yeah, I was impressed with the
Watch the
PowerPoint.
video too. I mean, it's way more than what Sentinel was.
Way more than what Sentinel is. So easy, so user friendly. Like it's.
But who's gonna own that? Who's gonna, is there you or Megan, or who's gonna own that?
So during the emergencies, it'll be it'll be the OC. Like, so it'll be whoever gets assigned that duty.
You mean it could be one of us, or it could be?
It could be. It'll probably be it'll probably be
That
myself or
probably won't
Megan.
work well unless-
It'll probably be myself or Megan because we will be the ones here logging into it or whatever.
If somebody's gonna have to understand that system very well to use it to its full potential.
Yeah.
So somebody kinda needs to own it.
We have a detail. It'll be one of the staff. We have another 2-hour seminar on Monday with them as well, going into it further. The one yesterday was just basically how to make an alert, the different kind of alerts you can make, showing like I can actually take pins, like what he was talking about pins, and I can do an alert for like 4 streets.
Oh, good.
And if you are registered, then you'll get the alert. So if there was, let's just say there's for example, the boil orders.
Right.
So we have 2 streets in Hamwell that are on water. They're the only ones. About twice a year, they get a boil order. At least twice a year. If the power is out for any extended amount of time, they have to have a boil order. So,
It's on, at Birchwood?
Birchwood.
Yeah.
So yes, it's Sloat and Lloyd Streets.
Lloyd Street, yeah.
So so what we do is we put a post on Facebook, and everybody gets confused because they wonder if this. Anyway, so this way, you register. A boil order will go to those 15 houses.
Right.
That'll be it. Nobody else even needs to know.
Right.
Are you optimistic that there'll be more participation with this than what there was with
I
Sentinel?
think there will because it's good. So it's
It's gonna be so much
and
easier.
not only that,
Yeah.
we're
It's useful.
we're putting in. I don't think people find emergencies important. They don't find it an emergency.
No.
But when you start saying, we're going to let you know about school closures, bam, they're going to sign up.
Yeah.
We're going to let you know about
Road closures.
events. We're going to let you know when they start hearing about
Yeah.
those things. I think that's going to kind of draw them in. That's going to be like, okay, yeah, maybe we will join this, and then they'll just click those buttons.
Maybe you can also say, there's 3 cars stolen, you should be on the lookout.
You could,
I
I
think
don't know,
that was,
you
it was
could-
kind of alluded to that they could do that.
you could
but-
do certain things, the thing is,
Community
I'm not gonna be running this 24/7, like I'm
No.
gonna be,
Yeah.
if it's an emergency, fine, but I'm not gonna on a Saturday just pick it up and start alerting people, unless it's an emergency, that would be the only time I would do that.
So you pay by the usage, is that my?
No,
No.
it's
Not
paid,
this.
it's a yearly, like we're paying just the kind of a group sum, so it's like,
That hour-long thing that Terry sent around, and that, I understood listening to it, that you pay if you use it.
That's
But
an
I
option.
must
you
have
don't,
misunderstood
no,
that.
what that is for us. We could have gone 2 ways. We could have done a cheaper version, and it's users, or we could just do a blanket, and we did the
How much
blanket.
is the blanket?
$6,800 for the year.
So Sentinel
It's not
was
bad.
3,500 or whatever.
It's way better.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's way better. And it's the capabilities with this is, you can't even, you can't, it's just, yeah, it's so much, like Sentinel was very frustrating to use. It was,
Oh my
it was not
gosh.
user-friendly,
Right.
it was complicated, it felt like I was using an old DOS programming, like it was just,
Yeah.
it wasn't used, like there was no, it
How
was
long
just,
it took me to be able to sign up.
it was frustrating. This one, it's easy, the sign up is easy, it's like logging on, you can put the app on your phone. Like it's just
That alone, if you put the app
It's gonna
on
be
people's
huge.
phones, will be.
huge, you
will
put the app on your
Draw
phone,
in a lot of, especially younger people.
yeah,
Are you, people that are on Sentinel going to be transferred?
they already transferred in. But.
So we're on point?
But I've transferred you in, but you're gonna have to log in. You're gonna and oh, you still have to do a little bit of work. If I was to send out an alert tomorrow, you should get the alert. But if you want to go in and update your information, if you want to, subscribe to certain things, like maybe you're interested in the garbage pickup, or maybe you're interested in, you have to subscribe to that because it's not going to be for everyone. You have to go do that yourself.
So you just got to download the Buoyant app,
Yeah.
and then
So-
they'll recognize that we are part of it, and then we can just do the personal.
So on Friday, Megan's going to do a post for Facebook
Okay.
and the website. And we'll share it on all of the ones, all the different pages, just kind of explaining this is what it is. If you are currently on Sentinel, this is what you need to do to update your information. And then once you're on it, I think maybe next week we'll do a test just for fun. Because May 31st, we're done. June 1st, Buoyant takes over.
Do you know there's an Island View Facebook page?
Yeah, I share it all the time.
Island View?
Mhm.
When are you going to move there?
What?
When are you going to move there?
I don't have to move there to be on the page.
Oh.
They'll apparently take anybody.
They rejected me, so.
Oh, well.
Wow, I'm a member.
Is there a
of
reason why they
Buoyant.
rejected you?
Well, I probably didn't apply.
Anyway, no, I share to all those pages, so everybody should, if they follow it, then hopefully they'll,
Acknowledge that.
and you should tell your neighbors, like, it's so easy, it's gonna be simple, it's gonna be a good,
I hope there's good sign-up participation.
yeah.
If after 3 years, we're still looking at 10% of the people, potential people, you gotta wonder, right?
You do, and I do think it's the emergency thing, people don't think it's an emergency till it's actually an emergency. They don't think about
But that
what
won't
could happen.
change
It
unless-
won't change, but I do think with the extra features that it's offering, closures,
Yeah.
stuff like that, that we can hopefully draw some people in.
I hope you're right. Yeah.
I've already got it installed.
It's, it's $1,600.
I'll make you a suggestion.
Mm-hmm.
Get some business cards done up with advertising on it about this thing and how to do it. And then give them to all your committee members like me
Mm-hmm.
and say, here's 5 cards, we'd like you to distribute them to 5
To 5
different
people.
And then, I go and I say, this is really good, you did that, do this. Like our neighbors, I could go and see them, they'll buy it right away because of the kids, both of them. The guy across the street might buy it for something else.
Right.
Or, but if you, that's word of mouth, and I don't have to write down what it is.
You could use social media and the Animal Herald or whatever
It
communication.
says we're not
thing
served by
company
Buoyant
uses
alerts.
too.
Okay, are you in Fredericton?
I put my precise address in there. It comes up Fredericton?
It shouldn't. What's your precise address?
6 Scenic View Unit 4.
They might not have put them all in yet. You
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
it's not,
Okay, it auto-filled in my address.
yeah, it's not going to do it until June 1st.
Oh, okay. Darn.
So yeah,
You don't pay any more if you use, you pay $600.
My understanding, it's a blanket.
As much as you.
it's a blanket for the year.
and-
Yeah,
So I'll just leave the app on there
Yeah.
and just wait until
just wait, yeah.
we're told to, okay. Done.
It sounded way more promising than what Sentinel was, to me.
It is way more promising than
Yeah,
what Sentinel is for sure.
I could see,
Yeah,
we're never gonna draw everybody in.
nope, we're not.
And you have to realize that.
But
All
there's
we
got to
could
be a
do is make-
level that you say, okay, this is worth it.
Yeah.
If it's 10%, that's not worth it.
But we still
No.
have to have, we still have to have an emergency system, I think.
But if we have an emergency
Even-
system and we make the tool available to the people, we've done our due diligence.
Because we have there's 700 families that have joined Sentinel, if you look at it that way. So there's I realize there's 7,500 people, but there's still 700 families that bought into the and they're actually, they want that service. So for us to say, you know what, we're gonna, it just wouldn't, I'm hoping that we'll be able to get more to
I
join
think
it.
the fact that this is more flexible and you can download the app for free on your phone.
Yeah,
Oh, it is free, I just downloaded it.
Right,
Yeah.
but I think that will entice
like, oh,
a large number of
It's
people.
easy, quick to download,
Right.
as compared to some things.
where's my voyant? So I'll just show you, this is I did tests yesterday on my phone. So this is kind of what comes up. So you'll have, this will come up on your page, and it'll tell you exactly. Whereas before, with Sentinel, you just got the buzz, or
Right.
the ring, or the,
Right,
there was no details, and it's even showing you the location.
yeah, yeah.
What was this one? Oh, this is system test. Oh yeah, the system test, so it's telling me that we did just an internal test of all of the boundary lines. It's actually quite,
Yeah, it's way more,
it's definitely more detailed, right? Severe weather watch.
Did you pick up that accident the other day? On Route 102 with the car drove in the house, everybody was backed up for an
But
hour.
something like that, we could have put an
Even though
advisory.
it was inside the city of Fredericton. It happened over the boundary that,
No, but we could still put road closure because it's affecting residents of
definitely
Hamlin.
affected.
Right,
Hamlin.
so you could
We
still
all had to
put-
go up Cage Hill Road.
You could still put the road closure.
And from what I remember, can I register for 2 different areas? Like it's asking me if I want to register for City of Fredericton, can I say yes?
And you can register, you can, and
And
what you
then when
can
it's
do-
available here, like when I'm
You
putting
can
in.
register for Calgary, if there's a city,
When are we going to
if your
Calgary?
children, let's say you have children that live elsewhere.
Yep.
And you wanted to, make sure that if anything happened to them, you could, I give up with you. But you could, like, it's that kind of thing where you could monitor, 20 cities if you wanted to.
Well, some people like to monitor a cottage or another
Yep, you can do that
residence.
too, yep.
Or, like you say, if they have kids in university or college or working in other locations.
Like right now, the wildfires
So
in
if we,
Edmonton.
if we
Yeah. Right.
come under the Voyant subscription you have for Handwell,
Yeah.
we can monitor if we've got a camp somewhere
Yes,
else.
you need to put your PIN as long as the area that your residence is covered by Voyant. If it's not going to monitor it. So
So if we have a camp that's not in the Handwell area.
you're not going to get notifications of it. No, not so yes, if it's not in Hamel area, okay. Try to explain this a little more clearly. So if, say for example, the city of Fredericton has Voyant. If they have Voyant, and you have a Grand Lake has Voyant. We'll just say they're covered by Voyant. If you have a cottage in Grand Lake, then you can pin your property and you'll be covered anytime there's notification. If it's not covered by Voyant, you will not.
It has to be a Voyant.
It has to be a Voyant covered area.
Region, which makes sense.
But they cover a lot of areas.
Well, it sounds like they're the kind of the de facto application in that field or that area
Yeah.
because Sentinel is no longer.
Sentinel was just pretty small, they were just like in New Brunswick. and-
It was like DOS, like it was very basic, a very basic
I don't
program.
think they had a national footprint at all.
They didn't. They didn't.
No.
I think it was just New Brunswick, to
Just
be
like
honest.
New Brunswick.
Yeah.
So if it asks to renew
guy up in
permissions of app is unused, what do you
Yeah.
advise?
I don't know a lot about that, Evelyn. Like
Oh,
I
okay.
really,
No,
to be
no, that's
honest, I
not-
haven't really delved into that.
Okay, that's not a problem.
Just when you see the information, when Megan posts it, kind of go through the,
Yeah.
it'll give you the troubleshooting and stuff, and it should help you figure that
It's not really
out.
troubleshooting, just an option, but I'll wait until she gives.
She'll give you the steps to kind of go through.
I'm just curious.
I only had 2
I wanted
hours,
to test
I only
it.
had a 2-hour crash course, so I'm definitely not a
I just wanted
pro.
to test it, so.
Yeah, but yeah,
And does it use data? Like if your data is usually turned off?
I would assume, I don't know.
Okay, maybe
That I don't
Megan will
know. I don't know that. I'm gonna,
'Cause I usually keep my data off.
I mean, it would definitely use Wi, if you had Wi-Fi, it would definitely,
If I'm in a place that's got free Wi-Fi.
I'll ask that question.
Yeah, because, yeah.
Does it need data? I couldn't imagine, because if you, well, no, it would have to, wouldn't it?
I'm
Yeah,
thinking it has, if you're sending information out. I
Yeah,
don't know
you'd
if
have
it-
to have data, you'd have
so
to
you
have
have
your
to
data
turn
on.
on your data, but if for emergency alerts, you wouldn't have to use the data, I would assume.
But I can turn my data off on my cell phone and I still get,
Right, true, you still get the
I
national
still
ones.
get the
Yeah,
national, like I
So it's
still
probably
get
the
those
same.
alerts.
Yeah,
It's probably
you
the
use your
same.
data if you want just the normal alerts,
Yeah.
you're curious.
If you wanna look
yeah.
through it, yeah.
Cause I got an Amber Alert
Yeah,
when we
every,
were traveling in
2 or
the
3 weeks,
States
yeah,
last,
yeah.
This
Everybody
past
did
winter.
around me, it was like,
yeah.
Okay.
this is all good.
So yeah, so just watch for that, and then, make sure you tell your friends and all that stuff live around you that
I'll get my son.
they should sign up for it, because
Yeah, I'll get my son to, yeah.
it'll be helpful. So that's all I've got for tonight.
Wow. So we still gonna meet June, is it 3rd?
It'll be the third, it'll be the fourth Thursday, or
Fourth-
fourth Wednesday.
Fourth Wednesday in June, okay.
So, I'll look
What's the
that up right
plan
now.
for upcoming meetings, because I just want to talk about that a little bit too.
I don't know, because I don't know if it's gonna be me. That's the thing, I don't know what the plan for upcoming meetings is gonna be. I'm not sure. Like, what would you like to, what are your thoughts?
Well, I'd like to talk about, if we could have, we've only got 5 people, how many people are even on the
Well,
committee now?
one person's ill,
Yeah,
and 2 are away,
yeah.
so.
To me, I think it's time to take, for me personally, I'd like to have a better understanding of what we're doing here. Like, what is the purpose of this committee, the objectives, the roles and responsibilities of all of us, you guys as Henwell staff and us as volunteers, and what's the expectations, what's the minimum standards we should all be doing for training? Just a good understanding of what the committee's all about, because I've never really had that explained all that well.
Okay.
So that we can kind of check in on ourselves once
Okay.
in a while and say, okay, are we doing, like we can have all the guests that we want, and they're all very interesting and good, I enjoy them all, but shouldn't we once in a while be just taking a look back at our core responsibilities or our priorities, say, okay, we're meeting this or we're not meeting this? And I just need a better understanding of what this committee's all about.
Okay.
It's just my feeling anyway.
I kind of get what we're about. I mean, for emergency situation, we're here to operate, like you said, a communications center, basically.
Is that our primary goal, is to be ready to operate the emergency operations center? And that could be, if that's it, that's good to know, like, so we gotta be ready for that.
That's the plan. Is that not the plan, Mike? Isn't that
Yeah.
what, that is what
I
our
don't know what else
purpose?
we-
But
We'd be
it's,
doing.
it's to Jason's point that he mentioned, and I think it's important to understand. We're here to facilitate, not to actually be out doing.
No.
The fire department, the police department, whoever is the appropriate authority or whatever will do it. If they need assistance or help, like Jason said, if the fire department's here and they're busy for a long term, someone's gonna have to bring them food. We would facilitate that.
Open up warming centers.
Open up warming centers, we would do that. But as far as being out hands-on,
Well, we're not capable of
No, I
that.
understand that.
no, and I wouldn't want to put
No.
the group in a position of that, because I mean, the training would just
Yeah.
get.
Yeah, we gotta appreciate, we're volunteers here.
Right.
Yeah.
Once a month for an hour. So, I mean, we can't have too lofty expectations, but we should know exactly what.
Basically, our plan, we're trying to like, and the seminars and the information is just to kind of keep you guys aware of and knowing what could potentially happen. Like when Mike talked about power outages like that, it's important that you guys can understand this is what happens. This is the time that it takes to fix it. These are our resources, that kind of thing. The Emergency Measures Committee is we get together so we can meet, so we can kind of prepare for a possible emergency.
Okay, and so that we can man the Emergency Operations Center effectively.
Right.
And help these other agencies. We're really, exactly what Mike was saying, we're here to
We're here to facilitate.
Facilitate it,
Really?
right.
Communicate. I mean, I can interface with NB Power, Rogers, Alliant, like that.
Yeah.
I'm familiar with that world. Now with Voynet here, if there's a bad ice storm, well, like when Hurricane Arthur went through here, we were 14 days for some isolated customers that didn't have power. We could put messages on Voynet ongoing, what the anticipated restoration times would be based on what we would be hearing from
The department.
NB Power, from Rogers or Alliant, if they have lines down or infrastructure damaged,
yeah.
like that sort of stuff.
Information
Yeah.
center, basically.
Right. And then we may, decide, well, we need to open our warming center based on what we're hearing.
Warming centers will need food.
Well, I mean, the warming center is a component of
It's
this.
a component of
We
it.
may have to be prepared to
Yeah.
go do that.
Mhm.
I've never even been to the warming center, but, if there's an expectation that someday we may have to open that,
Yep.
are we expected to go there and open it? I don't even know where it is, really.
It's here.
Okay, here.
It's this building, and the backup for this
But
building.
isn't there something of the Yoho too?
There is, but
That's the alternate.
that's the alternate site.
Okay,
So if we couldn't do it
impacted
here, and every one of the fire stations is a warming center.
yeah,
And,
okay.
the fire stations man those.
Yeah,
Like Upper Kingscliff Station 1,
yeah.
we have nothing, they man it themselves.
Right.
Station 2, they man it themselves. If we have to open a warming center here, we would be, and it might not be us manning it, we would be organizing the people to man it, right?
And if we need help from one of those 3 fire stations, we make a phone call to them. They deal with,
Exactly, we're facilitating. I
we're
get that.
facilitating, so
Yeah.
we're,
No, it just would be helpful, I think, if we were gonna attract new members, for example. I say, there might be somebody else in our neighborhood that might wanna be on this committee.
Yeah.
And somebody might say, well, what do you even do? Well, I guess I could explain my views, or Ross could explain his, or Mike or you, but if we had a one-pager that just said, this is the emergency management.
You know what?
committee,"
I can tell you what it is, because we just finished doing a policy, which we're gonna be probably passing very soon. So you'll see what the actual mandate of about
That's
emergency
good.
measures. Yeah,
Yeah, that's.
the mandate, it'll tell you exactly what it is. And basically it is, it's facilitation.
Yeah, okay, no, okay, fair enough. The other thing I wanted to mention is that I've had a guest on hold for probably 8 months now, since last summer. Roger Collette had wanted to come and talk to this group, and we've been putting them off and putting them off.
When I sent email around, nobody got back to me. We could have brought Roger Collette. Cause
When did?
this past week I said, I cannot do a meeting this week. Like I
Oh,
can't,
Well, I thought you had this meeting already prepared for this week.
no, he was last minute.
Oh,
Well, I guess the email I saw was,
I think
this
I
is.
have- 'Cause
I sent-
I thought you were saying in the future, you might need.
oh yeah, I thought it meant future too.
I will need I don't have, me by myself here running 3 jobs, I don't think that I can potentially even plan a meeting. That's why I need to rely on the committee to help me out with planning.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
I
why
don't
don't
mind
we bring
cheating.
Roger Collette for June's meeting?
well, we could, I could reach out to him again. I put him off numerous times, and I just said, well,
But
one thing or another.
I didn't know, did Terry know that you were gonna bring Roger
I
Collette?
didn't mention it to her on and off for the past,
Okay,
since last summer, really. And Roger is fully prepared, and he'd be,
I know Roger really well, actually.
yeah, he's a great guy, and
Yeah.
well-spoken, and
Yeah,
he
forest
understands
fires,
the
yeah.
business really
Oh,
good.
forest
And
fires, okay.
Yeah.
He'd be a good and very appropriate fire season
Yep,
underway. and
I
all
agree.
that.
Yeah,
I'd love to hear from him.
Yeah.
Roger
yeah, he'd be
Collette.
good. And he's got good knowledge of not just the local, but the provincial and the national. You know,
Okay, so
he's very tuned in.
do you want to reach out to him then,
I
see if he'll
can,
come for
yeah.
June?
Yeah. Do we have a date?
It'll be the 4th Wednesday, so,
24th.
yeah, the 24th.
And I don't mind sharing and taking minutes and stuff like that. I just need somebody to send out the email.
Now, I'm going to tell you right now, I may move it, actually, maybe I won't move it to the 21st. Because there's a potential Terry won't be back at that
21st is
time.
a Sunday, isn't it?
No, 21st is a Wednesday. So it's the 3rd Wednesday. We've had to move council meeting because I'm going to be in Italy.
Oh, okay.
I'm taking a vacation.
Good for you.
And I'm leaving on the 22nd. So the 28th is not going to work for me.
The 28th, not the 4th.
Sorry, the 28th is not going to work for me. But the 21st, we don't have any meetings scheduled because we're moving the council meeting to the 15th.
What day is that? Is that
It's a Wednesday.
So the 21st?
The 21st is a 3rd Wednesday. So we could have that meeting on the 21st
Yeah.
for next month. Does that work?
Yeah, for me, if I know in advance, I'm fine.
Yeah, no, and I don't mind opening it up a little bit for Roger, introducing him, explaining a little bit.
Perfect.
And,
I can do the minutes, send out the agenda.
No, I can do all that. Like
Oh, okay.
I'm able to do that. But
Oh, okay.
I just need for the planning of the actual meetings. I don't really have enough time to sit down and actually think about what I can actually do. So I'm going to need you guys
You
to
don't
kind
mind
of.
doing the bare boat, like,
No.
yeah, it's just, you want programming.
I need help with the
Yeah.
programming.
yeah, we can help along.
Yeah.
Yeah,
just take a
and as long as
second.
it's something that, that is going to make us learn and be aware of the different potential
Yeah.
possible incidents that could occur here.
Like, I like the idea, I don't know who brought it up, about going through that course that we're supposed to take, that I keep having to go back and take because I forget all about what I started it.
Oh,
Yeah,
BEM?
going through that as a group, I like that idea, that's,
Yeah, that's another.
Which you guys can take on. I don't know that we can do it as a group, though. I think you have to do it on your own. Because if you don't do it on your own, you're not getting your
Yeah,
certificate.
well, yeah, has
And you're
everybody taken that course?
I started
But you can take it at your will. There's no,
But isn't it a requirement to be on this committee, you have to take
I
those
No.
think
courses?
it's not, but
It's
it's
not a
probably highly
requirement.
suggested. I
It's
keep
not?
starting it and I keep forgetting.
it's not a requirement to take the BEM. No.
No.
I guess I understood it was a requirement.
No, it's not a requirement to take the BEM.
I don't-
It's nice to have. It makes you understand,
Yeah.
it makes you understand how an EOC works more, but it's not a requirement for you to take the BEM.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's no requirement for training because some municipalities, again, that Jason said, and I've heard it from Terry and others, some municipalities' plan is we call 911.
Yeah.
That's their plan.
Yeah, there's no requirement.
Okay, I thought there
You're
was.
definitely, you'f you'd like to take it, you're
No,
more than
I've
welcome.
taken it.
Oh, you have taken
I've
it?
taken both of those courses.
Yeah, there's no requirement.
Okay.
Okay, I gotta work on it. I keep forgetting. I start and then I'll go
Because
back to
they're
it 2
very
weeks.
useful for this committee.
Yeah.
They would be very useful,
Very
yeah.
relevant.
But we don't want to, it's a volunteer committee, right?
Yeah.
So I had to take the BEM because it was part of my job
Right.
description, right? I had to take it.
Yeah.
And the IEM.
And it applies to different things, like it's not just this committee, it's like if you're involved in joint health and safety at work, which I am, and involved with evacuation of the entire workplace,
Yeah.
or just a disaster that happens, like there's just some great useful information.
It's definitely helpful. And if people want to take it, we definitely appreciate it, but it's not a force. It's not a mandatory thing.
Okay, goal by, everyone's gotta get at that.
June 21st, so I'll reach out
Jude,
to Roger.
Richard, yeah, we'll talk to Roger.
6 o'clock.
6 o'clock,
6 o'clock. 6 o'clock.
yeah.
Yeah.
So that concludes the meeting tonight.